The next Battlefield game is finally looking like something I want to play. High-intensity infantry gameplay, vehicles, destruction, chaos, it's everything we've been missing from Battlefield. Wait, what? This isn't Battlefield? No, what you're seeing here is actually Delta Force Hawk Ops. You know, that game we all thought was some cheap mobile port when we first heard about it last year, and this gameplay is actually from their newest trailer on Havoc Warfare, a game mode which looks to be comparable to Battlefield's Conquest. Whereas EA has announced that the next Battlefield will be a reimagining of a truly connected universe, whatever that means, all while their game director has publicly left the company on his own accord, and they announced that they've closed the studio responsible for creating their next single-player campaign in the next Battlefield. Delta Force Hawk Ops actually looks primed to fill the gap where Battlefield is very obviously failing. Now, before we go into this isn't going to be some grandiose overhyping of a mobile PC free-to-play game, and calling this the next Battlefield killer is probably not a smart thing, and it is definitely clickbaity. With that being said, Delta Force is doing a lot of things that are not only surprising me, but actively winning me over. Will this thing turn into an overhyped game and eventually fall off like World War III did when it was called a Battlefield killer? Maybe, but all competition in gaming is good competition, especially when it comes to Battlefield-like games, since that's what a lot of gamers grew up with when you talk about FPS. First off, Delta Force Hawk Ops, like I said, is going to be free to play, and although I am cautious about what that means when it comes to aggressive monetization and the potential for pay to win mechanics or operators or loadouts or whatever, I can at least appreciate that I don't have to spend upwards of $70 on this title only to then play it and be incredibly disappointed. Additionally, this newest game mode, Havoc Warfare, which you've been watching in the background here, looks to be exactly what us old school Battlefield fans are looking for. It will have class selection between assault, sniper, engineer, and medic. You know, the ones that we've been playing with for over a decade now. There's also very obvious destruction, as we can see in the trailer, and not only are there going to be the usual vehicles like tanks and helicopters, as we can see what looks like maybe a modern Abrams and an Apache, we'll also be having some form of naval combat, with this scene showcasing a naval assault with patrol boats. This entire trailer is awesome. It really is just looking and feeling like the Battlefield that we used to play with when we were talking about Battlefield 3, Battlefield Bad Company, Battlefield 4. It just looks and feels the part. But I can't just be blinded by this awesome mishmash cinematic. The things that I don't like, well, honestly, the gadgets and the characters. The 4 classes are going to be split up into these characters, which you can see on their website here. And this does somewhat remind me of Battlefield 2042 specialists, which were honestly universally panned. I can't think of a single person that not only asked for this, but also was happy about it when 2042 launched. However, while it took Battlefield roughly 2 years to understand that players wanted these OG classes back, I do have to at least give Delta Force props for having these operators separated in the 4 classes from the get-go. The problem I am seeing, however, is that we'll start running into the same issue Battlefield had with identifying who's who, and you'll have a bunch of the same copycat player models that look just kind of funny all standing next to each other. It's definitely a lot less immersive when you see 8 guys named B Colony all standing in front of your tank, especially when you compare it to old Battlefield 4 or even Battlefield 1 gameplay. In those older games, you just played an assault kit, you just played a medic, you just played whatever, and you all kind of blended in because you just all look like soldiers. One thing I did notice, however, and I could be wrong, but I do think I saw what looked like colored chem lights on the backpacks as well as pants and shirts on the characters, which could indicate who's friendly and who's not. You got your blueberries with your blue chem lights and your enemies with your red ones. So at least the devs did think of this potential problem, since that was a huge pain point when it came to Battlefield 2042. Now, when it comes to gadgets and abilities, I fully admit that I am obviously not the target audience for this. So I might just be this old man yelling at clouds and say that I don't like these, but I at least get it and I understand why the devs are doing it. If you like these types of perks or abilities or whatever, great, it's in the game for you. But with that being said, the gameplay we are seeing here is pretty dang good, and it looks way better than that first trailer we saw last year. The maps actually look war-torn. It looks like it was part of a battlefield and people were blowing stuff up. You can go inside buildings to snipe, and if you're in a tank or you have a rocket launcher, C4, whatever, you can also blow apart these walls to remove the enemy their cover. Also, just by looking at this gameplay, we can see that there's actually plenty of options when it comes to weapon customization. You got regular red dots, you got long-range optics, you got flippable sights, you can even shoot the weapon with canted sights. This all looks incredibly customizable, and you can really play how you want to play. You also have the usual specialty weapons like anti-tank launchers and throwable explosives like the C4 we're all used to. I really like the look of it all. It feels fast-paced, it's chaotic, it's fun, it's reminiscent to past Battlefield games. And personally, I think there may be a bit too much visual recoil. It's really giving me that modern warfare type of recoil vibe, but I do think that's just nitpicking at this point. Overall, I'm impressed. I am pleasantly surprised, and I'm actually liking what I see. But whereas this trailer is getting all the hype, and I mean it, it has over 250,000 views at the time of recording this, there was actually a really interesting dev diary posted a few weeks ago where the devs talked a lot more about what we can expect from the game itself, as well as the gameplay in Havoc Warfare. In this diary, we can actually see things like ATVs. We can also see a Black Hawk helicopter with rocket pods. We can see that our players can parachute, and we also have plenty of other weapons and attachments that are showcased. Obviously, this cinematic trailer we all just saw is awesome, but the gameplay in this dev diary does seem a little bit less scripted, and it actually looks just as good and just as Battlefield-y, which is great to see. Additionally, how is nobody talking about this game's weapon customization? In this one blog, they've confirmed 16 new weapons and 60 weapon attachments, and this AK they're showcasing even looks Tarkov-ish. Two players can have incredibly different looking and performing AKs, all by using the same base AK, which is vastly superior to the afterthought of customization that we have in Battlefield 2042. This is the type of personalization and customization I really like to see in games. And although of course there's going to be meta builds and everything, being able to really make your weapon yours is always a positive. And look at this. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think I've ever seen a game where you can actually choose the placement of your foregrip on the railing and have that affect weapon handling or recoil. This is so cool. There's also a weapon inspect screen that we saw that shows all of the potential attachments that you can add into your weapons. Between the usual things like your side-mounted lasers or flashlights, your bipods, optic stocks, and pistol grips, I'm counting like 16 different areas to mod your weapon. It's really impressive that a free-to-play game is going into this much depth. And the devs are actually very aware that this free-to-play mobile port stereotype is obviously something that the player base is thinking. It's actually really refreshing to see them take ownership of this concern, and they've stated that they're not only aware of it, but that they're going to be developing each platform separately instead of just having it a copy-paste port. This is done to make sure the game runs well no matter how you play it, even confirming that you should be able to get good performance even with older graphics cards like the GTX 1080s, but also the AMD cards, which are becoming a lot more popular. The devs have also developed something called the Fog of War, where they have attempted to reduce the effectiveness of wall hacks and aimbots, which should absolutely be a priority in any multiplayer game, but especially one like this one, which is going to be flooded by hackers due to it being free to play. But what's really funny though is that after seeing all of this, seeing the trailer, seeing the dev diary, seeing the website, Delta Force just seems to be taking a lot of the lessons learned from Battlefield. From the outset, it looks like there's better map design. It looks like there's better weapon variety. It looks like the customization is light years ahead of Battlefield. From launch, you're going to have better implementation of specialists divided into classes, and there's even what appears to be a better executed extraction shooter and also a battle royale. All of this while being free to play. As a whole, I think it's very good to be cautious about overhyping a game like Delta Force, but everything I'm seeing right now is at least enough to get me interested. If I don't like it, well, I'm only really losing time I spent playing, which is far better than buying an absolutely horrible game like Battlefield 2042. I don't think you should drop everything and all of a sudden start simping for Delta Force Hawk Ops, but I do think that if you like Battlefield, this should 100% be on your radar. But what do you guys think? Is Delta Force Hawk Ops something that you can actually see yourself playing? Do you like the look of their Conquest style game mode, or is there something missing that you're still waiting for? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.